Alec Baldwin has been making movies for over 40 years, but the movie he may be best remembered for is one he likely wants to forget. The name of the movie is Rust. Alec was playing an outlaw in a Western, and while rehearsing a scene in a church, Alec drew his weapon, and the gun discharged. A single bullet struck two people, cinematographer Halyna Hutchins and director Joel Souza. Halyna died. Joel survived. And now the world is learning everything about what happened on the set that day as Alec Baldwin sits in a courtroom charged with involuntary manslaughter. If convicted, he faces up to 18 months in prison, but he is proclaiming his innocence, pointing the finger at two other people who have already been convicted: the armorer, Hannah Gutierrez, and assistant director David Halls. So the question for the jury in this trial is an actor responsible for the safety of a gun they hold in their hand? Tonight, we have all the latest from Santa Fe, New Mexico, including video from the same scene where tragedy struck. All this as we investigate the Alec Baldwin movie set shooting. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And the trial has begun, and it is off and running. The trial of Alec Baldwin, A-list celebrity, actor. This guy is known by everyone. He's known by everyone. He may not be loved by everyone, but he's known by everyone. I mean, this guy has been in the public spotlight for decades now, and now in the spotlight for a whole different reason inside of a courtroom. Now, there seems to be some misperception of my views of this case. I've tried to make them clear. Number one, I'm a former prosecutor. I have a problem charging people for accidental conduct, okay? If they don't have that intent to commit a crime, to do wrong, to do harm, I think you really have to pick and choose what circumstances under which you prosecute someone. So generally speaking, I don't like prosecuting those cases. But if you are going to, then you need to prosecute everyone responsible for that conduct and that result. So what happened to Halyna Hutchins here? What happened? It really comes down to the actions of four individuals. Four individuals making four mistakes. Mistake number one, the live round. Who introduced and brought a live round onto the set of this movie? There is never any reason for a live round to be on a movie set. Period. End of story. But there was. So who's responsible for that? Unfortunately, we don't know the answer to that. We had the trial already. We had one trial already, and it didn't get any clearer there. Investigators had a hard time. They seemingly narrowed it down. But to this day, we don't know for sure how that live round was introduced to the set. But whoever did that is responsible. Because if that live round is not introduced to the movie set, Halyna Hutchins is alive. Mistake number two, the armorer, Hannah Gutierrez, loaded that live round into a weapon. She's been prosecuted for it. She's behind bars for it. She was sentenced to 18 months for it. You saw the trial here on Court TV. She's been held responsible for her role in all of this, which was taking that live round and placing it inside the gun. Mistake number three, David Halls, the assistant director in charge of safety, does a safety check on that weapon. He's Hannah Gutierrez's boss on the set. He's in charge of safety overall. Takes a look at the gun and admitted on the witness stand and conceded that he did not check all the rounds. If he had checked all the rounds and found that live round, Halyna Hutchins would be alive. David Halls admitted his guilt. He took responsibility for what he did. He's crushed by it, absolutely crushed by it. But he's been convicted and held criminally responsible. Mistake number four. This is the question. This is this trial. Alec Baldwin, he's the one who literally has the gun in his hand. He's the one who literally points it at the victims, and he's the one who literally squeezes the trigger as he pulls back the hammer. That's a mistake. If he doesn't squeeze the trigger, Halyna Hutchins is alive. If he doesn't point the gun, Halyna Hutchins is alive. And at this point, if any one of these four things don't happen, Halyna Hutchins is alive. So if you're going to hold two people responsible that you've tracked down, the third we're still not sure, but if all these folks are responsible, should the man who actually held the gun in his hand and squeezed the trigger be held responsible as well? But for the conduct of all these people, Halyna Hutchins would be alive. That's the bottom line to all of this. And again, if you're going to hold them responsible, I believe all should be held responsible who are responsible for what happened. If you believe in prosecuting accidental conduct, negligent accidental conduct, and that's what's happening in this trial. Now, the actual scene, the jury got to see it. The defense wanted to show this to the jury, by the way. The defense wants the jury to see what was going on here. So really, for the first time, we got a really good look at the scene, and what you're going to hear is the voice of Alec Baldwin's attorney. That'll be the loudest voice. But then in the background, you'll also hear the director and everyone giving instructions, and you'll hear Alec Baldwin as they're filming the scene. Now, this is the same scene, but at a different time. So this is the rehearsal before lunch. The tragic shooting happens after lunch, but it's the same scene that they are rehearsing. So let's take a look at what the jury saw today, because this is basically how it happened.
I'm gonna go find some help.
I don't need no damn help.
You're gonna die if we don't.
He's wounded and on the run. Play again. Continue.
Arlen Rust. Need you stand up nice and slow, tossing your weapons you have.
He's on the church pew, bleeding, his hand gripping the revolver. He would defend himself against the men in the movie. Play.
One more. You good? Ready? Set, ready, and action. Arlen Rust. Did you get up nice and slow, tossing the weapons you have?
Well, how close can I get right there?
Joel, you want me to wait to give you that line till he lands?
Okay.
Till camera lands?
Yeah.
Yep.
7 minutes, one.
Yeah.
Draw your gun and look up and point your gun, okay?
Okay, which way? Camera right or left?
This side, for now.
So camera left for now.
I'll stand right here for you, Alec.
So whip it out.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me get this all greased. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, ready? Okay, ready? Ready.
And set, ready, and action.
Arlen Rust.
Do one more just like that. You got one more? Yeah.
Ready, ready?
They want him to do it again. There's no danger. They want him to do it again.
And set, ready, and action.
Arlen Rust. Nice.
It's a scene similar to scenes we've all seen in movies and television, performed by thousands of actors. And the scene that continues after lunch is the same scene. It's just not, unfortunately, captured on videotape.
And again, the defense wanted to show that to the jury, and they did in their opening statement. And you heard the voice saying everyone's safe. They asked him to do it again and again. The bottom line, though, when you look at it, every single time his finger is on the trigger. Let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Crafts, joining us live from outside the courthouse in Santa Fe, New Mexico tonight. Kelly, great to see you. Little breeze out there we see. That's nice. Keep you cool.
It just picked up,
Yeah,
Vinnie.
exactly. So let's talk about the biggest moments from today. Today is really what I call opening day for the trial. Yeah, you have jury selections, really the first day, but this is when everything really starts. What were some of the big moments today?
Well, Vinnie, the opening statements are always huge, so everyone wanted to hear the opening statements. And I think one of the best points that defense counsel made, because throughout this we have heard he didn't pull the trigger, then some people are saying that he pulled the trigger. But defense counsel said, Alec Baldwin said during his opening statement, even if Alec Baldwin did pull the trigger, he was on a movie set. He was allowed to. He was acting. That's what actors do. He was Harlan Rust. So kind of getting out of the way this issue as to, well, did he pull the trigger or did he not? And his defense counsel just said it doesn't even matter if he did pull it because he was on a movie set and he was acting. That's what he was supposed to do. Meanwhile, the special prosecutor for the state of New Mexico, Ms. Johnson, was talking about how at every step of the way, major safety protocols, they were not followed at all. This was a low-budget movie, and Alec Baldwin was responsible. He broke the cardinal rule where you don't point a gun at someone. You think it's loaded always, and you never pull the trigger. So it was interesting to listen to the opening statements. Those are always a big deal. And then, of course, that body cam footage that was played. This was the state's first witness out of the gate. This is Nicholas LaFleur. And what they did was he was the first responder on that Bonanza Creek Ranch for the movie set of Rust. And so he was wearing body camera footage. So it really showed this chaotic scene on that movie set right in the aftermath of when Helena Hutchins, the cinematographer, was fatally shot and killed when he arrived and what exactly was taking place. In particular, they showed a part where Alec Baldwin even said at one time, "What do you need?" when the officer came up and was talking with him. Why don't we go ahead and play some of that sound from that body camera footage?
And who's the props guy? Who's in charge of props? She has green and purple hair. You can't miss her. Okay. I was here when it happened. You were here when it happened? Yes, sir. Who else was here when it happened? My the camera operator. It's in his front pocket. How many people you think were in here when it happened?
3, maybe 4.
4?
Maybe.
Okay. So 2 more other than you two? Reed, as soon as I see him, Reed, camera operator. Reed, yes, sir. Okay, who else? Reed Russell was here. Alec Baldwin was the actor on set that pulled the trigger. Alec Baldwin? Yes, sir. Where's he at? How's it going, sir? So my understanding, you were in the room when someone was shot? Holding the gun, yeah. Okay, alrighty. What do you need?
Yeah, so you hear Alec Baldwin there saying, "What do you need?" And then you heard someone before that say Alec Baldwin was the one that pulled the trigger. Now, on cross-examination, the second witness from the state, this is retired lieutenant from the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Department. His name is Lieutenant Ben Benitez. He took the stand on cross-examination. Alex Spiro was asking him things like, well, why didn't you put Alec Baldwin in the squad car? So you really weren't treating this as a crime scene, getting across this theory that this just was an accident. This should not have been treated as a crime scene. And you, officer, did not treat it as a crime scene because you didn't take any meticulous notes. Why don't we go ahead and play a little bit of that cross-examination?
The gentleman that was there, he told me that the gun wasn't there. There was a lot of guns on that. There was a couple of guns on that cart, but he told me I have to take him for his word because I wasn't there. He told me that the gun used in the church was not there.
Right, but there was, and you anticipated, there were other guns on that.
That is correct.
Okay. And you left those firearms and you left them there and you went to do what you did next, right?
Correct.
Okay. And, In a typical homicide scene, right, you probably wouldn't be walking away from all sorts of, firearms, but this was a movie set, right?
That is correct.
Again, Vinnie getting across the point that this was a movie set, so things are different on the sets of movies.
And that seems to be the way this is being framed, that gun safety is just different. There is a special exemption for actors. It's just for them. Actors are exempt from gun safety protocols, and that's basically what we heard from the defense today. All right, so let's talk about the scene inside the courtroom today out there in Santa Fe.
Really busy scene inside the courtroom. So we go in and out of the courtroom to do the live shots for Court TV and other places, and our Court TV cameras are inside that courtroom. So really how it's set up, Alec Baldwin is there sitting at the defense table along with his defense team. His sister, Elizabeth, older sister, she is sitting behind him at times. She became emotional during the trial today, listening to the testimony. We saw her wipe away some tears. Also, Alec Baldwin's wife is there. She's been there from the beginning. And also his younger brother, Stephen. You're taking a look at all of them right there. There's Alec Baldwin's wife. And so they are there when you walk out of the courtroom. When we have our breaks, you see Alec Baldwin in the hallway along with his wife, standing there at times talking with his defense team. And then you see his brother, Stephen, just inside the Santa Fe County Courthouse as well. So an interesting scene, to say the least, and quite chaotic at times because you have so many media professionals here from across the globe that are trying to get a glimpse and a shot of Alec Baldwin.
And how about the family of the victim, Helena Hutchins? Do we know if they are in town for this?
That's a great question, Vinnie, and no. And so it's been interesting because during the last trial, we saw for the trial that we came out, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, that was several months ago, we saw a lot of family, friends of the Helena Hutchins, the victim in this case. They were here, and we would talk with them. One of them, Rachel, she wore this fedora cap that was Helena Hutchins. It was a purple fedora hat, and Helena would wear that on the movie set of Rust, so she was there. I haven't seen Rachel here yet today. And so just as the trial goes on, we expect to see more people, more supporters from Helena Hutchins' family. But we have seen a lot of civil cases as well. Gloria Allred was here today, and she gave some interviews just talking about things like Alec Baldwin never did reach out to Helena Hutchins' family. So that was kind of interesting to hear from her perspective. She's, of course, representing one of the ladies that was in charge of Scripps supervision in a civil lawsuit on this case, Vinnie.
All right, Kelly Craft in Santa Fe, New Mexico, in the middle of it all. I'll be joining you next week, Kelly, so make sure you get the lay of the land for me there so I can figure it all out. Thank you so much, Kelly. When we come back, folks, Think Tank live in studio tonight. Josh Schiffer, Molly Palmer, Daryl Cohen. They are ready to go. They are ready to go. I don't know if I'm going to agree with them tonight, though. We'll be right back.
A-list actor Alec Baldwin is cast in the real-life role he never wanted.
I try and cock the gun. The gun goes off.
Criminal defendant.
His lack of gun safety is something that he's going to have to answer for.
We heard that this was a toxic set.
One more.
It's not his fault. He did nothing wrong.
Is there an actor's exemption from liability when they're handling a deadly firearm?
The Alec Baldwin Manslaughter Trial. Live coverage weekday mornings only on Court TV.
When someone plays make-believe with a real gun in a real-life workplace, and while playing make-believe with that gun violates the cardinal rules of firearm safety, people's lives are endangered, and someone could be killed.
Opening statements today in the Alec Baldwin movie set shooting case, and that's the prosecutor trying to set it up for this jury that, listen, gun safety is gun safety. It doesn't matter if you're an actor or if you're just a regular person like us, out there handling a gun. The protocols are the same. You need to adhere to those protocols. So let's take a listen to more of the prosecutor's opening statement.
You are going to conclude and be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that on October 21st, 2021, that gun the defendant had asked to be assigned worked perfectly fine as it was designed, and that the fatal and one of the main problems that afternoon of October 21st was that the defendant didn't do a gun safety check with that inexperienced armorer. He pointed the gun at another human being, cocked the hammer, and pulled that trigger in reckless disregard for Ms. Hutchins' safety. And you will be convinced that the only true and just verdict in this case, so that true justice can be served, is a verdict of guilty to involuntary manslaughter.
Let's bring in our think tank. Joining us live in studio tonight, criminal defense attorney, entertainment attorney, and former assistant DA in Atlanta, Daryl Cohen. Also with us tonight, criminal defense attorney and Emory University law professor, Molly Palmer. And finally, criminal defense attorney, the man behind the glasses, Josh Schiffer. Great to see everyone tonight.
Great to see you, Vinnie.
I wore my purple just for you, Josh.
Thank you.
Once upon a time, the state of Florida, to bring in more tourists, said, the rules are different here, and they are different on the set. They followed the protocol. Whoever it was that allowed that live round to be in that weapon is who should be prosecuted. Whoever it was that fired it should not be, because I've been killed on a set when I was an actor.
In the heat of the night.
On the heat of the night, and I got up and I lived. But I know the protocol, and I know Screen Actors Guild protocol was followed. The fact that a live round was, or more than one live round was in that weapon, is what the problem was. And you can't bring her back no matter what we do.
No, the problem is that best practices weren't followed. And it was a sloppy production. And I feel terrible for Mr. Baldwin. He had all the detrimental reliance any actor should to be able to get on his set and act the way that he wants to act. But is there really a problem with insisting that the real rules of gun safety are followed? No, it doesn't ruin the production to double check when you're the actor that the firearm isn't loaded. You should know how to handle something, especially someone with the depth of acting experience of an Alec Baldwin, who's done hundreds of scenes with guns. There's no problem in making sure what you're doing has the requisite minimal safety involved. I don't like this case. I feel terrible for Alec Baldwin. I think they've politicized it and head-hunted him. But I think he broke the law. And that's what the prosecutor did, an eloquent and clinical job.
Deadly weapon is deadly on a set. It's not a prop gun. It's a real gun being used as a prop.
But when we think about liability, when we think about responsibility, it is not just in the criminal context, right? So in the face of tragedy, in the face of death, you can have civil liability, which, you know, Alec Baldwin has settled in civil court.
Settled one of them.
Sure, but to bring in the government and to threaten 18 months in jail is a totally different standard.
Here's the question, though. Two people have been already prosecuted. Should they not have been prosecuted as well? Molly?
Well, I mean, I think Hannah Gutierrez is a very different, she's in a very different situation than is Alec Baldwin. Very different. And I think you can make a decision as a prosecutor, those who have discretion, those of you here who have been prosecutors, you can look at people who have all in some way perhaps contributed to a death and say this person has more culpability than does this person.
So is the better question to Molly then, who should have been prosecuted for this
Not
death?
Alec Baldwin.
Not Alec
Baldwin should not have been prosecuted. Hannah, yes. The other gentleman, yes. But not Alec Baldwin. It is his job to fire the weapon.
This is a workplace shooting. Like a movie set is a workplace. It's a workplace, nonetheless.
It's a
all or
different
none.
workplace.
Either everyone is criminally responsible or no one is.
It gets down to the idea of strict liability. There are certain things that are just so sacrosanct and clear, any violation, you're responsible.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Daryl. If it was a scene where he was supposed to take his own life, do you think things would have been done differently?
Now they would be.
No, but then. You don't think he would have double-checked the gun?
I do not, because you believe and you trust in the professionals who are hired to do their job. Now, as a prosecutor, I never would prosecute this case. I would never.
Well, I wouldn't have prosecuted any of them. Personally, I think it's all or none. It depends upon your view of accidental behavior.
No, because now we're getting into negligence versus intentionality and whether you can have criminal liability for negligence, which you absolutely
can. Legally, yes. But again, when you get back to Molly's discretion, I'm probably a little closer to Molly on this, although Molly's a little bit more severe on Hannah Gutierrez than I would be criminally. I think there's enough deterrent effect when you hit Hollywood in the pocketbook on this.
You love deterrence when it's Hollywood. What about parents putting their kids in boxes in Florida? Come on now, you really got to get to the fact that deterrence is a value of this.
What do kids have to do with this? What is he talking about?
Because deterrence is a garbage argument.
No, it isn't.
For this case in this setting.
Isn't that why we have civil liability plaintiffs, like all those labels on all our things?
The prosecution
has nothing to do with civil liability. Civilly, Alec Baldwin is absolutely liable.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I'm with you, Daryl. Daryl's yelling at me, and I'm agreeing with him.
But I'm yelling with you, not at you.
Okay.
Alec Baldwin civilly is likely very liable. Settle the case, maybe more. Criminally, he has absolutely less than zero
Here's the problem.
culpability.
We're at I don't see an actor's exemption to this. Safety is everyone's job on that set. Everyone who touches a deadly weapon has a responsibility.
I mean, name another job where you are using guns in this manner. That's why you can't myopically think about
Police
it just
officer
as
training.
actors.
Police officer training.
Well, I think that could
and
be
every
a
time
very
a gun is
similar
handed from one
situation.
officer to another, they check it.
They check it, and that's
They don't have armorers. They don't have armorers.
Yes, they do.
That's the difference.
Yes, one of the officers will play the role of armorer.
Absolutely.
But that officer, when he gets the gun, he is checking it his or herself every time.
And there's policy about firearms clearances. There are shoot tanks. There's all kinds of stuff. That's not a great analogy, because what happened here was Alec Baldwin failed to follow what any other gun
and
operator.
by the way, this was rehearsal.
Yes.
He wasn't even supposed
operator,
to squeeze the trigger.
And the point is taken. If you're handling a firearm, you have to do this. And there's not an actor's exemption or a totality of the circumstances exemption. The problem is that this was an awful mistake. And now, you're right, Hollywood will be better.
Daryl, his job was not to squeeze the trigger during that rehearsal. It wasn't, and he did. Was that negligent to squeeze the trigger?
It didn't matter whether he squeezed or did not squeeze the trigger. What mattered is that he had a weapon that was supposed to be cold.
He's got a complete shield.
He has it better than a shield.
Is there a line that you could cross as an actor with a gun?
But you know what, Vinny? He's being punished every day, regardless of what happens in this trial. He has to live with the fact that
he's not being punished as much as Hannah Gutierrez is. She's behind bars tonight.
She deserves
18 months.
She deserves it because she should have pled guilty.
He does not have some sort of immunity on the set. You got to get elected to get that kind of immunity.
No comment.
All right. They're with us the whole hour tonight. When we come back, we're going to flip it over to the defense. What did Alec Baldwin's attorney have to say? That's next.
This was an unspeakable tragedy, but Alec Baldwin committed no crime. He was an actor acting, playing the role of Harlan Rust. An actor playing a character can act in ways that are lethal, that just aren't lethal on a movie set. These cardinal rules, they're not cardinal rules on a movie set. And I don't have to tell you much more about this because you've all seen gunfights in movies. And the reason that can happen is because safety is ensured before the actor.
It is the actor's exemption. I've been talking about this since the beginning. I've been arguing with people since the beginning that there's some sort of exemption that you get, according to some folks, and maybe according to this jury, we'll find out, because you're an actor. You're shielded from any liability for how you handle a deadly weapon during the course of filming a movie. It's like you're Teflon. Once the camera starts rolling, you're Teflon. I don't know if it applies to people on TV, but I'm certainly not grabbing a gun anytime soon. So let's take a listen now to more of Alec Baldwin's attorney making his opening statement, which was really more like a closing argument. There were a bunch of objections throughout because he was being very argumentative, and you try to get away with it, I guess, if you can. But take a listen.
The remaining witnesses from inside the church are interviewed on the scene. They're interviewed with lapel cameras. They're interviewed by the lead detective, Detective Cano. And those witnesses, some of them will come in here and testify. And not a single one of them will tell you anything different than what I'm about to tell you about the evidence. The gun was double-checked, verified it was a cold gun, not an actor's responsibility to check. Safety was ensured before. Alec was doing his practicing, his rehearsing, his movements. People manipulate and point guns on movie sets. The gun went off during the rehearsal. No one saw him intentionally pull the trigger. It was obviously a tragic accident, but Alec committed no homicide. Alec took the gun from those charged with its safety. He did not tamper with it. He did not load it himself. He did not leave it unattended. It completed his costume and his character. It was an actor handling a prop and integrating it into the character of Harlan Rust.
He mentioned the character's name a lot during that opening statement. Let's bring it back to our think tank, Daryl Cohen, Molly Palmer, Josh Schiffer. Molly, what did you think of the way he kept trying to get into the character of Harlan Rust and use him as like a third party that might be responsible for all of this?
Yeah, it was an interesting opening. I was expecting something a little different. I was surprised that he seemed to read it from a script. He did take the approach of like getting into character. I think he did a fine job. He's a good lawyer. I wish that he would have focused a little more on the New Mexico statute, because I think that's where the win is. Complete indifference. You have to have complete indifference for human life to be found guilty of this crime. And instead, he kind of moved the jury a little bit away from the actual elements that the state has to prove into kind of some of the more theatrics behind filmmaking. So, you know, I wanted something a bit different. I think he did a fine job. I do wish, of course, that he was off script. That's one thing that I think any good trial lawyer is prepared to do in an opening.
And what was really interesting, again, taking him into character, removing Alec Baldwin from the shooting. It was fascinating to see what they're trying to do. Do you think the jury's buying that, Daryl?
I think with the way Alec Baldwin is sitting at the counsel table, with the glasses he's wearing, with the pen in his hand, looking meek, the clothing he's wearing, his body language, his facial expressions, the jury should be buying it.
I like it. It's transferred intent and liability. I think that there's actually a benefit as the defense is going to get more technical, kind of like Molly's talking about, moving that jury around, maybe coming back and circling and focusing right specifically on the statutory language, even though I've always believed jurors are going to go with their guts and their feeling, and with non-published jury instructions, they're going to rule the way they want. So emotionally, what the defense really needs to do is have that jury understand what it would be like to be the Alec Baldwin in this position. That's why I kind of wonder why they didn't want to make him producer. They argued over whether they're going to talk about him as producing. I think that the defense, to be most effective, would really enrobe the juror in what was happening to Alec Baldwin that day, make them into actors.
But don't you think, like, isn't it problematic if he is so engrossed in his character? Like, doesn't he have a little bit more of a disconnect to what he's doing in terms of safety? That's why I'm saying you have to move closer to this idea that I was told the gun was safe twice. I have an armorer. I am actually conscious enough, despite being an actor in the moment, to feel as though we can move forward with this scene safely. I think if you move the actor so deeply into his character, then you're closer to that complete indifference for human life, right?
But he's an actor. How does he do that in a defense trial where ostensibly we may hear directly from him? And I wonder how he deals with his identity as an actor in the performance of a lifetime.
He has to do what an actor does. He is engrossed, he's enmeshed, he is Rust. He was not Alec Baldwin. He was wearing the costume, wearing the hat, the beard, you name it.
Is it a problem that his character is an outlaw?
as long as his name...
Like, he's playing an outlaw.
American
and I don't know if
hero.
you want him to be the outlaw.
This is not...
He's not the good guy in this movie.
But he is the good guy as far as this trial is concerned. The jury, if they like him, Josh sort of pointed out, they're going to ignore what the prosecution has to say.
What's the reason for them to like him right now?
Because of what I've just mentioned. The way he looks, the way he's acting, his body language. The family is there. Everybody is there trying to let them know.
Well, there's
he's a
only
meek-
one Baldwin
Oh.
brother, and there's like 2 other ones. His sister was there. His niece and her husband wasn't there, Justin Bieber and Haley. They were not there.
Later on.
Okay, now, there's another big issue here, and the question I have for you guys is, did the FBI blow this case for the prosecution? Take a listen.
If they could prove that he intentionally pulled the trigger and he was imperfect, imprecise, wrong with what he said, then maybe you take that and you say he's lying, and if he's a liar, he committed homicide. And so what they do is they take the prop gun. They're blinded by the shine. They're blinded by trying to disprove Alec. They take it and they order a destructive test on the firearm. They order the FBI to take a test that they know will destroy the firearm. It's a pointless, unnecessary test where they blindly try to make this big case by taking a mallet and smashing the firearm. At the time that they did that, they knew that Alec had maintained, adamantly maintained, that he was manipulating the hammer and the gun just went off. That the witnesses said it went off out of nowhere. That there are these accidental discharges that happen on the set. That guns have issues in the real world. That this gun had a hair trigger. And the owner's manual of this specific gun actually says that if you load it with a live round or any round in the chamber, in that last position, and you drop it like you see a cowboy in a movie, this type of old cowboy gun can accidentally go off. I don't remember hearing anything about that. The evidence will show that. So rather than trying to answer the question of what happened, they proceed with the destructive test. They eliminate the one item, that could prove what Alex said and believed.
This is nuts, by the way. This is nuts what the FBI did. Like, you could test it to see if it operates, and they said, oh, we could do one more test, and then they take a mallet and they smash it and they break the thing. Like, and this case has nothing, the facts have nothing to do with that. No one dropped the gun. It was in his hand. Like, why on earth is the FBI, is it just cool? Let's see if we can smash it?
I think they wanted the FBI to do it to give more gravitas to the prosecution. Look, we went from the real world of acting to the actual real world. And it doesn't matter. That poor woman is dead. It doesn't matter. Alec Baldwin has to live with the fact accidentally she died as a result of him having a weapon in his hand that went off. Whether he pulled the trigger or not, to me, that's irrelevant.
Well, I think the defense is trying to make it relevant. I mean, they're going down that path too, Molly.
Sure, the path's available to them. And I think what's interesting when you think about a New Mexico jury, right? New Mexico is a state where you have a lot of firearm owners, a lot of people who like the Second Amendment, inherently a lot of people who distrust the government. Now you have a prosecution that seems to be a bit of a test case. You have prosecutors who are already fighting with their own witnesses or seemingly annoyed with them. So if you have jurors that already have this level of government distrust, that like their firearms, and now you have the FBI doing this, yeah, the defense is going to go down that road. They're going to go down every road along that path they can to get the jury to say, look, don't trust the government, trust the defendant.
And it's during a time when I feel jurors are more cynical with government action than ever before for a variety of reasons, from the national trials, from our national politics. I think the general populace questions government actions more than they did 20, 30, 40 years ago. And this feeds right into that, because the way the defense very smartly placed it was, you're stealing the defense away from this defendant. You are prohibiting him from showing the best evidence that this gun operated in a particular way. How can you stand up and defend yourself when the very prosecutors have destroyed the evidence
with a mallet?
It took a mallet. It doesn't matter. Use the KISS method. Did he intentionally fire that weapon knowing there was a live round or more than that in the weapon? If that is the case and you can show that he knew, then he is guilty. If, on the other hand, he had no reason to know, he had not one but two people, two professionals who were paid to make sure
And they've been
the
convicted.
gun was cold.
They've been convicted. All right.